All right. All right. Thank you, Ben, for agreeing to this. Everybody, I would like to introduce Benjamin C.roy-cory Garrett, a poet and UCA MFA Creative Writing alum. So thank you for joining us, Ben.
Thanks for having me, Amber.
I guess we'll start off with just the basics. When did you enter this program?
I entered the program in the fall semester of 2013.
The more philosophical question, why did you enter the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I entered the program because I was working in electronics in Southern California. I was not happy living in Southern California, and I was looking for a reason to leave, and I had just written a book and sent it to an old faculty member that I knew who happened to be teaching at UCA, Mark Spitzer, and he read the book, and I don't know if it was a good sign or a bad sign, but after reading it, he suggested that I join the MFA program at UCA, and I took him up on it.
Well, I'm very glad that you did. What part of the program was as you expected?
The classroom was largely as I expected it to be. A lot of workshops, small classroom, lots of discussion, great readings, great professors. All of that stuff was what I was hoping it would be, and it lived up to those expectations for sure.
Thanks. Okay, so what has been different than what you expected?
Well, I certainly wasn't quite expecting the academic rigor of my first semester with composition, comp theory class.
For those who might be watching the video, any potential students, there's a composition theory course that's part of the core. Just to clarify what the comp theory is that you're talking about.
Yeah, I loved the academic rigor. I just wasn't quite expecting it when I first jumped back in, but it did get me back in the mindset of I'm a student now, and reminded me that I'm quite a bit nerdier for theory than I often forget.
Out of curiosity, did you have Dr. Clark or?
I had Dr. Clark.
Yes, Dr. Clark is excellent. How did your plans and goals change over the course of your time in the MFA program?
I didn't come into the program with the expected goal necessarily. As a student, I am still a little non-traditional in my expectations. So in terms of what was I hoping to get out of it when I came there, I didn't really know. And I guess maybe I left not knowing what I was going to use it for exactly when I finished. So in terms of the plans, I think my plan was that I wanted to learn more about the world of writing. And I didn't realize that when I first came in, that there was a lot I didn't know about what writing could be on a professional level.
Did you have any more to add to that part?
No, I think that's mainly what changed is that I learned. Okay, I do have something I want to add. So I guess my big plan that changed over the course of time is I entered the program wanting to find my place in the world of writing and hoping that there was some place for me. And I guess by the end, I realized that the writing world was a part of myself in a way that it didn't matter how I fit into it in a professional sense necessarily, that what I was learning was how to be a lifelong writer and creative thinker, composer.
I like that. So what strategies did you adopt over time to make it through, especially in regards to the academic rigor and just the sheer volume of writing?
So again, as a somewhat non-traditional student, I flirted with the idea of doing the things that were expected of me in the way that would get me through it quickly and easily to get some certificate at the end. And every time I came up with an idea to do that, I came up with an alternative idea to really push myself and make things a lot harder for myself, and that I would often decide that I would make assignments far more complex than they necessarily needed to be, because they needed to be for me, not necessarily for the class or for the graduate requirements. And I carried that through from my first semester comp theory syllabus that I had to make all the way through to my thesis. I really pushed myself to try things that I didn't know and I wasn't sure if I would be able to do.
I think that's a really cool answer. I was aware of those things kind of as I was in classes with you. I would notice you doing those things, but I think it makes a lot more sense in the context of having graduated and making it through. Good answer. Thank you. How did you manage your time?
How did I manage my time? Well, when I first started, I was working a part-time job in addition to having a graduate student assistantship, editing in addition to being a student, and I didn't manage my time well. I was running out of time for doing the important things, which were the reading and the writing and the learning. So I had to back away from my part-time job that first semester to focus on being a student, since that's the whole reason I was at the program.
Did you develop any strategies over time that you would like to share with the future generations?
No matter what you do, always read the introduction of any book you're required to read first, and really read it and get a sense of what the material is in it, and figure out if this is a book that you're going to be reading to learn everything out of, or is it a book that you want to learn the framework of to be able to use as a resource for later. Because some books you need to read in their entirety right there, and then in some of them are ones that you just need to know where the information is. You don't need to know what the information is.
That is some particularly useful information, so thank you. What do you wish that someone had told you, either as you were going into the program or as you were making your way along?
I feel like someone did say it to me, so I don't know if it counts, but it sat with me. And if you're going to get an MFA in creative writing, you're doing it because creative writing is important to you. You are a writer, and figuring out how you're going to balance being a writer with other aspects of your life isn't going to be something that follows a real easy flow chart. It's not maybe like some other professions where it's like you just need to get this one certificate and then you are super qualified and everybody wants to hire you to do the one thing that you studied to do. You're not studying speech pathology or any of kind of field where it's like, okay, now you have this certificate and you need to do exactly that one thing to do it. There's an almost unlimited number of ways to be a creative writer, and finding the way in which you write and will continue to write, that's really why you're there.
How would you say that you have utilized the MFA community?
Before I came to the MFA, I was a part of a writers group in Southern California. And before I had found that writers group, I was floundering. I had graduated from my undergraduate, and I had been out in the world for 5 or 6 years, and I had barely written anything. I was working way too much, 60 hours a week, and it was a real struggle to get any writing done. And then kind of out of the blue, this writing group found me, and I started writing again a little bit, and I got hungry for it. And so the MFA community has helped me in that now that I've even graduated, I still am in touch with the people in my cohort, with the other students I took classes with, and I still share work with them. I still communicate with them about writing. I see their successes, and it pushes me to keep trying new stuff too. And it reminds me I'm a writer. This is the life that I've chosen for myself.
This question seems to have posed a bit of a challenge for some people. So, you can go into this as much or as little as you want, but how would you recommend addressing conflict, problems, or challenges that arise within the program? And that could be challenges with butting heads with other students, or, you're having a difficulty with a particular class or professor, or there's some sort of larger problem that you're encountering in the program.
Yeah, so the first part of my answer is going to be that there isn't one way to deal with conflict correctly, right? Every person is going to be able to respond to challenges and problems and conflict differently. And so for me, that was a very different process than it's going to be for a lot of people. I'm pretty good at the problem solving, conflict resolution, nonviolent communication is something that I studied before coming into the program. So when I would see conflict, when I would see problems, I am a person who would jump into the middle of them because I am trained to do so, and I always felt like I had the ability and the training to help people come to compromises or to find a solution that was going to work best for everyone. I don't recommend everyone doing that. It didn't always work out best for me. Sometimes I thought I was more competent and qualified at some of those things than I really am. But it's who I am, and I can't help but at least make sure people know that I'm available to talk to when they're facing challenges within the program. In terms of more general advice that I do think people can consider is that the faculty really cares about you, and hiding frustrations from them oftentimes just results in a buildup of resentment that doesn't help you, it doesn't help the program develop. So finding the faculty that you can talk to about the program and how things are going is really important. And find your faculty mentor as early in the program as you can, and recognize that it might change over the course of the time, that you'll develop relationships with each of the faculty members, and some will be better for you to talk to than others. And then also your MFA community. You're in a program for a specific reason. You're not guaranteed to make friends with everyone in the program. Some people are not going to like you. Some people are not going to like your writing. Some people are going to frustrate you and challenge you in every single class, and maybe even say rude and horrible things about you, but you're in an MFA program with them. You're learning with them. And so you can either completely dismiss them, in which case I feel like you might be losing a voice that you maybe need to hear, even if it's difficult. And so learning to develop that relationship of not everyone's going to like my writing. Some people are going to have specific stylistic reasons for not liking what I write and what I write about and how I provide feedback. That's all okay and even great, but navigating it's going to take some time, and you're going to fail sometimes. Don't be afraid to say sorry when you do.
That was really excellent advice. Thank you so much. I know this particular question has given people a bit of a challenge when they answered it, so that was 5 stars. Thank you.
I can provide that advice because, I have been in those situations where people pretty much said the rudest, most horrible things you can say about somebody's work in a workshop situation and had to deal with it from experience. So I can say that, sometimes it's rough, but, oftentimes there's the opportunity to learn from those situations.
Yeah, I think the part that really stuck out with what you said was, you're not going to make friends with everybody. You might even strongly dislike someone. I think the thing that we all kind of sell in the program is the community, and the community is incredibly important, and you will make some incredibly strong connections with people. But at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we're all very different people. So I think that was an incredibly important thing you just said. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ember.
Wow. The next question would be, what do you think would benefit this program that future students might work toward?
Oh, man, that is a challenging one. I would say keep pushing yourself. Don't settle into what gets easy and comfortable with your writing, with the program itself. If you have courses that you kind of want to take, but you're not sure if it can be done, talk about it. Maybe it can't be, but put it out there that you're interested in something. Don't just settle for the idea that you're in a creative writing program and you have to follow the exact curriculum that's set before you. If you want to try taking a science class and work writing into it somehow, push that. See if that's possible. Like I said before, the faculty really works with the students in this program, and it's one of the greatest strengths of the program is that they care about your success and your learning. They're not just bystanders that are going to make you do everything on your own and not back you up. I would say push yourself and it will push the program.
I would definitely agree. Since the program is still relatively new, one of the challenges is the limited number of assistantships and teaching spots. Do you have any advice on this, how to address it with your professors or how to pursue assistantships?
So I was really, really lucky and privileged in my coming to the program. I was sought out for the program. I was recruited. So I came to the program and I had a assistantship from the beginning, and it wasn't guaranteed that I would be teaching. I had to earn my place the same way everyone else does through presenting my syllabus and success in the pedagogy classes. But with the initial assistantship, that was something that I had set before me before I came to the program. So I was very lucky in that regard. I will say there is a lot of pressure on students to make you think that if you're not teaching, you're wasting your time in the program, that it's all teaching or bust. And that's definitely not true. I would say one of our most successful graduates never taught at all, right? She knew she wanted to be in publishing, and that's the route she went, and she focused on it, and she got the internship and is in that world now doing that. Because we also had another student who did get a teaching assistantship, and then after teaching for 2 semesters realized that teaching wasn't what she wanted to do at all, and is also gone on to be wildly successful in a creative enterprise. Yeah, definitely not getting caught up on needing to teach and needing to teach specifically composition or creative writing at UCA in order to be successful is really important. Making sure that you can sustain yourself through the program, that's critical, but you're not necessarily going to be making more money doing an assistantship than you would working a part-time job instead of the assistantship. Figuring out how to get yourself through the program is something that you're going to have to do, and there's going to be pressure to feel like the assistantship is the best way to do it, but honestly, that's not true for everyone. Don't force yourself into something that you don't want to do because there's a lot of other ways to be in the program.
Good advice. So thank you. I guess we're to the big question that everybody has, the thesis. When would you advise that students start thinking about it?
I think that students are going to think about the thesis way too much anyway. You're going to not be able to stop thinking about it. I started thinking about it at the end of my first year, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And then by the end of my 3rd semester in the program, so halfway through, I completely changed my idea and did something entirely different, which I basically didn't start until the summer of my 3rd year. And I created a lot of work for myself by doing that, and my thesis was weird. There's no other way to describe it. It was weird. It was challenging. It was challenging for me. It was challenging for my faculty advisors. And that was great. That's exactly what I needed it to be. So I had an idea of a poetry thesis that I was going to be able to do that was going to be real easy for me, that I was excited about, but I realized in 10 years I could come back and do that project and it would be just as good as if I tried to do it for my thesis. And so I really recommend thinking about your thesis as an opportunity to do the thing that you couldn't do on your own, that there's a reason why you came to this MFA program, and you need some of the resources here to do that thesis, because the oh, I can do this thing and maybe get it published and I know exactly what it's going to be. You have the whole rest of your life to write that, but you don't necessarily have all the resources of being in a university and the prestige of saying I'm a grad student in terms of research or in terms of other kinds of resources available to you.
This kind of leads off of that. Well, I guess actually you kind of answered the question. I was going to ask, how did you decide what to work on for your thesis?
Yeah, I decided what to work on for my thesis because there was an issue that I just couldn't stop writing about and asking questions about. And so I realized that this was my time to write this project because I wasn't going to do it any other time in my life.
I think that's an incredibly straightforward answer, and that makes the most sense to me. So how did you choose your thesis committee?
So I had already started putting together a thesis committee for the project that I didn't do. And then I had this big radical shift in, it was a hybrid work of nonfiction and script writing and a lot of other stuff that my thesis became. And so I, having learned more of the faculty, shifted focus and wanted to work with someone who had that nonfiction experience and environmental writing background. So I chose Jenny Case to be my thesis advisor. I knew that I was being a bit of a radical punk, and so I figured Mark Spitzer was someone that I needed to have on my committee to kind of check that attitude and know more about where it was coming from. And then I was picking such a specifically focused nonfiction thesis. My focus was on the prison industrial complex, so that led me to my third committee member. I wanted a professional researcher in the field, and I needed a third advisor who was going to have the technical background in the field I was researching to be able to call me out on anything where I was just flat wrong in my nonfiction. And so I chose Dr. Rich in the sociology department to be that leg in more academic research because I was doing a subject that I didn't want it to just be my voice versus the world.
So we're to the last question. Do you have any general advice, anything we didn't cover?
Yeah, I guess my general advice is the MFA experience is something that's going to have its ups and it's going to have its downs, and it's going to be absolutely incredible sometimes, and it's going to stress you out and push you in ways that you're not sure if you can handle, and some of the time you're going to fail. You're not going to accomplish things the way that you wanted them to. You're not going to get all the internships, all the job opportunities. It might take a while for things to coalesce around how you're going to use what you've learned to demonstrate your commitment to being a lifelong writer. And that's okay. The MFA is not a degree like other degrees in the sense of it's not about the certificate. It really is about what you learn and what you learn about yourself and your own writing and the community you build around yourself as a writer. And so a lot of general advice about grad school isn't going to be as applicable for you as it might be for someone that's pursuing something that's incredibly specialized, because you can specialize with creative writing, but there's just an infinite number of ways to do that. And in the end, it's your experience at UCA, your experience getting an MFA is only going to be valuable if you find ways to make it so.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Ben. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for giving me a chance to talk about the MFA. It's, you know, I absolutely love my time at UCA, and I'm always glad to be able to contribute to future students and help the program along.